Hey players, today I want to tell you the final chapter of the story between me and my first girlfriend. There were a lot of ups and downs between us, and it played out over the course of several years, which is why I want to share the story with you right after this.
This is the Josh Speaks. You're watching the Josh Speaks.
For those of you who don't know and haven't seen the original video of how I asked my first girlfriend out, I'll tell you now that I did it with some level of confidence that even I didn't know I had. I mustered up the courage to walk up to her and her friend group, asked her out, and everything worked out great. We were together for a while but eventually broke up, which is another story I shared in this other video explaining why we broke up and what I could have done better. So now that you have the general context, let's move forward so I can explain the craziness that happened years and years after. Right after we initially broke up, one of her friends in her original friend group ended up asking her out because he had a crush on her right from the beginning but was too scared to do anything about it. So they started going out for the next year or so, which was totally cool. I wanted her to be happy and she seemed happy with him. But I guess their relationship wasn't the best because she ended up breaking up with him too, meaning at some point she was single. Now over the next few years in high school, I had a few bumpy encounters with different girls, which are other stories I want to share with you. But once she was single again, all of that changed. My attention seemed to focus back on her because I wanted to ask her out one more time. I felt like I grew up a bit in that past year. I wouldn't be scared to hold her hand or go for a kiss because I knew that I would have the confidence to do it. So I asked her to hang out just like old times. We rode the bus together, got off, decided to walk around the neighborhood and get pizza. This was an amazing moment for us to share together. We were laughing and joking just like we used to, and everything seemed to fall right in place. I kept thinking to myself, why did I let her go? She's beautiful, she's funny, and we share so many things in common. I decided to go for it and said to her, we should try this again. We should try to be together again. But her response was not what I expected. She totally agreed, but there was one factor that was getting in the way of that happening. She was moving. Now look, where she was moving wasn't an impossible place for me to travel. It would probably be a bus ride that would take maybe 40 or 50 minutes, but for me, that whole concept seemed foreign. It seemed totally far away compared to what I was used to. At this point, she lived about 15 minutes walking distance from me, so the idea of having to take a bus to go see her in an entirely different borough was totally out of the question for both of us. We recognized this and accepted that we weren't going to be together again, but we wanted to remain very close friends. And although it was bittersweet, I was happy with that. Eventually, I graduated from high school and I was moving over to college, so I knew that it was time to let go. I lived in Brooklyn and my college was deep in Long Island, and I had decided, you know what, my high school days are over. College is going to present a brand new opportunity for me to meet people. As you know, I've shared a bunch of different good and bad college dating stories with you guys, but after that first year of being in college into my sophomore year, things had changed once again. When my first girlfriend moved to her new school for her senior year of high school, she had met someone and they ended up getting together. So when he graduated, he had to find a college to go to. So can you guess where he ended up going? That is exactly right. He ended up going to the exact same college as me, meaning there was a high potential I was going to see them on campus. Let me tell you what happened. Since me and her were still friends on Facebook, I would see on his page he would post pictures where he was on campus, and I always thought, what would I do if I ran into them? And it wasn't until junior year that me and my friends decided to move into a suite together. So one day, me and one of my friends are walking out of our suite, and who do we see? I see my first girlfriend with her boyfriend walking towards the exact same suite we were coming out of, meaning he lived in the exact same building as me. Knowing that little detail was kind of awkward, but as me and my friend continued to walk, she was walking with him, and as we passed each other, me and her locked eyes and held eye contact. This was a super surreal moment for both of us. It felt like time had slowed down, and as we passed, our heads turned and looked at each other. I wanted to say something, but I felt so caught off guard, like I didn't expect it and I didn't know what to do. Later on in the day, she ended up messaging me on Facebook and asking, "Hey, was that you that I passed earlier while walking?" I told her it was, and we both shared how we should have said hi to each other and not acted like we were a deer caught in headlights. Eventually, I graduated college, and the link between me and her was slowly going to fade away. Me and her were going to go on with our separate lives, right? As it turns out, a few of my friends ended up working at a private school where they help children learn basic necessities and skills like reading and learning how to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. The company he worked at had multiple divisions, and it just so happens that there was a division located where she lived, which she ended up working for. Every year, the company would have a holiday party where all the different divisions would come together to celebrate in Brooklyn. And since my friend knew the long-standing story between me and this girl, he would always call me up and say, "Dude, you gotta come talk to her. She's here now." Granted, while I was still in college and into my very first job, I was with my second girlfriend, which ended up being a long-distance type of relationship. But yet for some reason, I wanted to talk to my first girlfriend. I wanted to just be around her or say hey or anything. And Christmas party after Christmas party after Christmas party, I kept missing those opportunities. Every single time I would get my stuff together and rush over to the bar, my friend would be there to tell me, "Dude, she left like an hour ago." This really sucked. I felt like there was some cosmic force at play, keeping her in my life just barely so that I can have the opportunity to talk to her again. And long after me and my second girlfriend broke up, and side note here, my second girlfriend and that whole story is a whole nother video I'm gonna make for another time. Long after we broke up, I was single again, and my first girlfriend was still with the new boyfriend that she had when he was in college. Even though she still had a boyfriend, I felt like it didn't matter. I wanted to be with her and I wanted to see where I can take it, despite all that. And then one day, all the stars aligned except for one. Earlier in the year, someone had stole one of my female friends' bikes. They just took it off the chain and stole it. And on that night, I had arrived at the bar extra early before her division had even come into Brooklyn. I was ready. This was well after I had learned all the different PUA stuff, so I felt like I knew what to say, how to act, and how to win her heart. And then later on in the night, she ended up walking into the bar with all her different coworkers, and I knew I had to find the opportunity to talk to her. They eventually put their coats down and settled in on one spot, and as I passed by, we made eye contact once again. This time, however, I wanted to play it cool, so as I looked at her, I smiled and kept walking and figured I'll talk to her later on in the night. Well, as it turns out, later on in the night, my friend ended up calling me saying, "Hey, I was walking to the bar and I ended up finding my stolen bike." It was only a block away from the bar, so I decided to leave and go meet up with my friend so we could figure out what to do. I stood there with her in front of the bike thinking, do we break the chain? Do we call the police? How do we figure this out? And all the meanwhile, I'm thinking in my head, what do I do here? Do I stay with my friend and her stolen bike, or do I go talk to the girl of my dreams? I decided to be a good friend, so I stayed with her while she called the police. The police told us that they had to arrive to figure out what to do to prove that the bike was actually hers. And while we waited there, I kept looking over in the direction of the bar to see if she would be leaving anytime soon. Before the police had arrived, one of my female friend's other friends decided, we're not waiting for cops, we're stealing this bike back right now. He showed up with one of those gigantic chain clipper things, and when we tried to use it, we weren't able to bust the bike open. We're trying to figure this out, and I kept thinking to myself, I gotta go talk to her, I can't miss this opportunity. When the police finally arrived, they asked us to show them a picture of the bike to prove that it was hers, and the person who actually owned the bike now ended up coming out of the restaurant and saying, oh, I don't know where the bike came from, someone sold it to me. When the police told the guy that they were going to break the lock and give it back to her, he didn't say anything, probably because he knew that it was stolen. The police thought it was a little suspicious that this guy had these gigantic clippers to start, but they went forward with it anyway. They clipped the lock on the bike and she had her bike once again. As soon as that was resolved, maybe an hour or two later, I ran back to the bar to finally have my opportunity to talk to her again. And as I walked in, I saw the bar was nearly empty, and my friend who worked with her looked me in the eyes and said, dude, you missed your chance once again. I felt a mixture of feelings, a little bit of annoyance, a little bit of mixed opportunity, but I felt like I did the right thing by standing by my friend. I thought to myself, okay, look, there's gonna be more parties, so I'll just talk to her at the next one. Until the very next day when I woke up and checked Facebook. The very first thing I saw on my newsfeed was a picture of her hand, and on this hand was a ring. It turns out, earlier in the morning, her boyfriend ended up proposing to her, and now she was engaged. This reality hit me like a ton of bricks. Now I felt like my opportunity to get with her was finally over. It took me a while to accept that I had to move on. Now that she was engaged, I felt like I had to finally let her go. And that's exactly what I did. I went on with my life, and she went on with hers. She ended up getting married, and now she has a kid. We're both still friends in a way, and I think the major takeaway here is that even though we've gone on with our separate lives, we can be happy for each other, and that's the new stage of where we should be. Across all three of these videos, one thing I hope you guys can take away is that when you have an opportunity in front of you, go for it. I know sometimes you may be scared and not know what to do, but don't miss out on your opportunities. It doesn't mean things are always going to work out, but they're worth a shot. So take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. As always, guys, love and peace.